Hello students, welcome to the science class. Again we are continuing with the same chapter that we were doing, that is the water. Now while studying the water, we have to know the two distinct function of the water. One is the evaporation and another one is the transpiration. Now what is called evaporation? Like, suppose for example we are spreading wet cloths on the roof, like after washing, that is we are giving the clothes for drying. And how does this sorry dry process happens? That is, the water present in the wet cloths seem to disappear. Actually, water present in the wet cloths evaporates by receiving the heat from the sun, and this water vapor gets directly they goes into the air, and gradually all the water present in the wet cloths evaporates and the cloths become dry. That is why it is said that when the day is sunny, the drying process is much more easier. So from here we have come to know about the definition of evaporation, that is the changing of water into water vapor. And water needs in this entire process, what is that agent which is causing the change of water to water vapor? It is the heat. So water needs heat to evaporate into water vapor, and the water spilled on the floor dries up and disappears due to evaporation. Similarly, the water from the wet roads and puddles near our home and rooftops also dries up and disappears by forming the water vapor. So, this is all due to the process of evaporation. Now, the if we want to say want to dry our uniform, a school uniform, want to dry up our dress very fast, so we should uh, keep them in the bright sunlight. That's fine. But instantly, suppose you won't have to go to school and you had seen the water, the uniform has not been dried properly. So at fast, at hurry, what will you do? You will keep the washed or the dry school uniform near the angiti or the heater. You will spread, and then the heat produced by the heater will evaporate the water present in the wet cloths as much as faster as you it's possible, and then the uniform will dry up very quickly. So this is the process, or this is the reason why we keep the wet cloths near the heater, or wet we if we have a time in our hand after washing the clothes, we dry them in the sunlight, so bright sunlight, so that they can be dried up faster. So the this is the process of evaporation. Now the process of we have already studied that the common salt dissolves in water can be separated by the process of evaporation. But when water having salt dissolved in it, it is heated on a burner, water evaporates and rapidly, and it goes into the air, but the salt left behind. Because the water forms vapor easily on heating and salt does not form vapor. So, from this observation, we say that the process of evaporation of salt water does not carry away the salt with it, and so the salt is left behind. So, this is our observation. Now, we know that ocean water is saline. Definitely, it contains lot of salts, lot of minerals dissolved in it. So, what happens when the ocean of water or the sea water gets heated by the heat of the sun? Some of the ocean water evaporates to form water vapor, and then they go into the air, and the salt which is present in the ocean water, they remain behind. So ultimately, from the above discussion, or from the discussion we had discussed so far, we can conclude that when there is a sunshine, the heat of the sun that helping to evaporate the water, or they facilitates the process of evaporation or vaporization. Okay, so next we are coming into the process which is known as the transpiration. Hopefully you had heard this word before. That is, it is another process which puts a lot of water vapor into the air. And so detailed discussion, what is transpiration? It is the loss of water from the plants as water vapor through the pores of their leaves. Leaves having their small pores throughout the part which is known as the stomata. So the water from the stomata in a form of water vapor through, they leave out the leaves, and this process is called as the transpiration. So transpiration puts a large amount of water vapor into the air. So ultimately we had seen here the two main processes. One is the evaporation and another one is the transpiration. Both of these processes facilitates or helps the water vapor to go into the atmosphere. Next we are coming into the process which is called as the condensation, or it is the process by which the cloud is formed. Now, the changing of the water vapor into the liquid water on cooling is called as the condensation. That means previously we had studied what is vaporization or evaporation or transpiration. In both of the cases, water vapor are produced in the atmosphere. This water vapor can condense back or can come back as a liquid water, and this process is known as the condensation. So we can say it is the reverse process of evaporation. And now, like if we take out a bottle of ice cold water from the refrigerator and keep them in the table, and then ultimately you will see that the puddle of the water is formed around the bottle after some time. So why is this happened? This is because when the water vapor present in air around the bottle comes in contact with the colder outer surface of the bottle, it gets cooled and condenses, and ultimately they form the liquid water. So it forms the water around the bottle. So this process, how are they helpful in the nature? So this process involved in the formation of the cloud in the sky and bring back water to the surface in the form of a rain. So we had seen it is such a new, I mean, interesting process, that is through evaporation the transpiration, water whatever present, they form the water vapor and goes into the atmosphere. In the atmosphere they they become liquid, I mean they condenses and ultimately forms the cloud. From the cloud they come down as a rain. So water present on the earth forms water vapor and then rises up high. They get cooled, they become condensed or they condenses, and then they comes back mainly as a rain or snowfall. So ultimately we had seen, due to the combination of these processes, the water comes back to the land and then in a form of a rain. So when the water coming back to the earth, to the land surface, now this water after rain they form the river obviously, and these rivers then moves back slowly, ultimately mixing to the ocean. So ultimately water what has gone from the ocean by the process of evaporation again comes back to the ocean. So isn't it very interesting, students? So the nature has adjusted its processes in such a manner so that there is everywhere a stability. Now, in this context, one more thing you need to learn, that is the water cycle. Although you had learned this, it is the continuous circulation of the water from earth's surface to the atmosphere and from atmosphere back to the earth. So this cyclical process is called as the water cycle. Now, why this water cycle is important? Acha, before going into the importance of the water cycle, just let me tell you once, that is, the heat from the sun evaporates the water from the river, lake, pond, ocean, soil to form the water vapor. Now this water vapor goes into the air, and the plants and the trees absorb the water from the soil through their roots, and they also, by the process of transpiration, leaves the water and they also form the water vapor. Now air containing the water vapor, they are heated by the sun, and so the air becomes hot and becomes lighter, so they rises high up in the sky, and it is cold at high altitude in the sky, so the air containing water vapor rises to a high altitude. The water vapor which were present in the air becomes cooler, because the more we go into the high altitude, the more the place becomes colder. The cold water then condenses to form tiny droplets of water. These tiny droplets forming the clouds in the sky. Now, these tiny droplets of water in the cloud join, forming a bigger droplets, and these drops of water fall down on the earth in the form of the rain. So in the very cold regions, the instead of rain we can see the snowfall. So that is why snowfall is not being able to see in the plain lands or in the areas where temperature is not that much low. So water formed by the melting of the snow and also some of the rain, that is, they flow into the river, and finally the water goes into the ocean. So the rainwater also fills the lakes and the ponds and also gets absorbed by the soil, and that is how the rainwater recharge the groundwater. So they fall on everywhere. Whatever fall on the river, ultimately they go into the ocean, and whatever form into the land, they generally by the pores of the soil go deep into the below the soil layer, and they recharge the groundwater. So here we are coming into the importance of water cycle. The importance is, first one, they are making the fresh water available in the form of the rain, because ultimately the water source whatever present in the earth are majority sea water, salt water. We cannot use that water for our purposes, so we need fresh water. And also it keeps the amount of the water on the earth's surface constant. Okay, so we don't face any problem due to the scarcity of the water. So in the next chapter, in this chapter, in the next section, next class, we will proceed with the concept if there is heavy rainfall, and also if there is low rainfall. Till then, all of you stay safe, maintain COVID protocol, and stay healthy. Thank you.